Dwarf planets. Do you know what they are? Most people have probably only really heard about dwarf planets in relation to the fact that many are still quite upset that Pluto was reclassified to one. But why was this change made in the first place, and what does it mean? In 2006, the International Astronomical Union decided upon a set of criteria to determine what objects should be classified as planets. These three criteria are as follows. 1. The object must orbit its host star, in this case, the Sun. This excludes things like moons and other satellites from being considered planets. 2. The object must be mostly round. This excludes small rocky objects like asteroids or comets that don't have enough mass for their own gravity to pull them into a spherical shape, or something close to a sphere at least. And 3. The object must be large enough and have enough mass that its gravity has cleared its orbit of any objects of a similar size. At the same time the IAU decided on these criteria, they also created the new category of dwarf planets. These are objects that meet the first two criteria, but fall short on the third. There were only 5 officially recognized dwarf planets. In order of increasing distance from the Sun, they are Ceres, Pluto, Haumea, Makemake, and Eris. There are many other objects that are candidates to be considered dwarf planets, but they haven't been officially recognized as such by the IAU, so I won't be discussing them in this video. Pluto is, without a doubt, the most famous dwarf planet. Discovered by Clyde Tombaugh in 1930, it was considered our solar system's 9th planet for decades, but the discovery of many other objects like it in the Kuiper belt led to its reclassification. There are other objects in its orbital path after all, and it even crosses the orbit of Neptune, which is significantly larger than it. Ceres was the first dwarf planet to ever be discovered, but at the time it was found, the classification didn't exist. In fact, like Pluto, it was at first considered a planet, but it was changed to an asteroid as more objects in the asteroid belt were discovered, and then it was changed again to a dwarf planet when the category was created. I already have separate videos on both Ceres and Pluto, so I also won't be talking about them here. Feel free to go check those out if you're interested. In June of 2008, the IAU created yet another new category that exists within the category of dwarf planets. The Plutoids. These are any dwarf planets that orbit further out from the Sun than Neptune. Currently, this only excludes Ceres, which is the only known dwarf planet in the inner solar system. So now that we know what dwarf planets are and roughly how the category came to be, let's take a look at the other 3 recognized dwarf planets. Haumea was discovered by 2 different teams of astronomers, one using images taken in 2003 and the other using images taken in 2004. It was originally designated 2003 EL61 and it was nicknamed Santa by one discovery team. Haumea takes its name from the Hawaiian goddess of birth and fertility. It was designated as the 5th dwarf planet and 4th Plutoid by the IAU in September of 2008. Haumea's elongated shape is very unusual for a dwarf planet. Its dimensions are about 1,443 by 1,059 by 707 miles. This elongation probably comes from its very fast rotation. In fact, it's one of the fastest rotating large objects in the entire solar system. This football-shaped dwarf planet completes one rotation in just under 4 hours. Its year, on the other hand, is much longer, as it takes around 285 Earth years to make one trip around the Sun. It sits an average of about 4 billion miles or 43 astronomical units from the Sun, and at this distance, sunlight takes about 6 hours to reach it. It's possible a large object impacted Haumea billions of years ago, which set off its fast spin and created its 2 moons. Haumea's moons were both discovered in 2005 and take their names from daughters of the mythological Haumea. Namaka is the smaller and innermost moon, and it takes its name from a water spirit. It has an orbital period of 18 days, and its mass is just 0.05% that of Haumea's. He Hi'iaka, the larger and outer moon, is named after the goddess of the island of Hawaii and the patron goddess of hula dancers. Its orbital period is 49 days long, and its mass is about 0.5% of that of Haumea's. Both of these moons are covered in water ice, just like Haumea itself probably is, and Hi'iaka has a fast rotational period of about 9.8 hours. In 2017, scientists discovered a ring around Haumea after observing it pass in front of a star. The ring is about 40 miles wide and sits at a radius of around 1,421 miles from Haumea. It's in the same plane of the dwarf planet's equator and Hi'iaka's orbit. The particles of the ring are in a 3-to-1 resonance with the dwarf planet's rotation. This means that for every 3 times Haumea rotates, the particles in the ring rotate once. A football-shaped dwarf planet with 2 moons and a ring. Isn't that neat? Makemake was first observed in March 2005 by M.E. Brown, C.A. Trujillo, and D.L. Rabinowitz at the Palomar Observatory in California. Before its confirmation, it was called 2005 FY9, and it also had the unofficial codename of Easter Bunny because it was found just a few days after Easter. Makemake takes its name from the creator god of Rapa Nui mythology. The Rapa Nui are the indigenous people of Easter Island, so the dwarf planet's name links to both its unofficial codename as well as the date of its discovery. Makemake has a radius of around 444 miles, and it sits at an average distance of 4.25 billion miles, or 45.8 astronomical units from the sun. This means that sunlight takes around 6 hours and 20 minutes to reach it. The dwarf planet takes 305 Earth years to orbit the sun once, and it rotates every 22.5 hours. The color of Makemake appears to be reddish-brown. Frozen methane and ethane have been detected on its surface. There might even be pellets of frozen methane as big as half an inch resting on its very cold surface. Though it normally has no atmosphere, when it's at its closest point to the sun, it might develop a very thin atmosphere of nitrogen. Makemake has one known moon, which was imaged by the Hubble Space Telescope in 2015 and announced the next year. It still has only a provisional name of S/2015 1364721, but it's nicknamed MK2. The moon is more than 1,300 times fainter than its parent, and it was seen about 13,000 miles from it. The moon's radius is estimated to be around 50 miles. Along with being the largest classical Kuiper Belt object, Makemake is also the second brightest object in the region, just behind Pluto. Eris. Probably the most infamous dwarf planet out there. This is the one that sparked the debate about the definition of a planet, which then led to the reclassification of Pluto and Ceres to dwarf planets. Eris was discovered on January 5th, 2005, from data that was obtained on October 21st, 2003, during a Palomar Observatory survey of the outer solar system by Mike Brown, Chad Trujillo, and David Rabinowitz. Initially, Eris was designated 2003 UB313, and it was nicknamed Xena for the warrior princess. Its current name comes from the Greek goddess of discord and strife. Eris has a diameter of around 1,500 miles. At an average distance of 6.3 billion miles, or 68 astronomical units from the sun, it takes sunlight 9 hours to reach Eris. It orbits the sun once every 557 years and completes one rotation every 25.9 hours. Eris most likely has a rocky surface similar to Pluto. Being so far out from the sun, its surface temperature is extremely cold, probably hovering around no more than -350 degrees Fahrenheit. It's often so far from the sun that its atmosphere collapses, freezes, and falls to the surface as snow. This snow then thaws and reforms the atmosphere when Eris is closer to the sun. Eris is the most massive known dwarf planet, and it was once thought to be the largest because of its relative brightness. However, a stellar occultation by Eris in 2010 allowed scientists to calculate its diameter, which turned out to be smaller than previously thought. This, when combined with a more recent measurement that showed Pluto was bigger than originally believed, meant that Pluto took the top spot as the largest dwarf planet. Later in the same year Eris was discovered, a small moon orbiting it was announced. This moon was originally named Gabrielle after Xena's sidekick. It later received the name of Dysnomia, a demon goddess of lawlessness and daughter of Eris. Though Eris Eris is, on average, the furthest dwarf planet from the sun, this isn't always the case. Its perihelion is closer to the sun than Pluto's aphelion. Currently, though, Eris is near its aphelion, so it'll be a very long time before it comes close to the sun again. No objects have been officially recognized as dwarf planets in years, although there are plenty of objects that are considered pretty good candidates for the classification. There are some that are widely agreed upon as very likely dwarf planets by astronomers, but they still haven't been officially recognized. In this video, I only wanted to focus on the recognized dwarf planets, excluding Ceres and Pluto because I have videos on them already. If you would be interested in a video about the dwarf planet candidates, then feel free to let me know, and I'll add it to my ever-dwindling list of things in the solar system to talk about. As I mentioned before, you can check out my videos on Ceres and Pluto if you're interested, and you can also take a look at my video on the Kuiper Belt. Most dwarf planets reside there, after all. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, I would appreciate it if you could leave a like and a comment, and you can always subscribe if you'd like to see more. I often take pretty long breaks between making videos, but I swear I will be back with another one sooner this time. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you have a good day.